Okay, so here are the steps to unravel. You can see that every letter of unravel actually stands for a step. That's what makes it easy for you to remember. Sometimes I like to say it as unravel, so you can just keep in mind that the two A's in the middle are there on purpose. So the first step here is to underline the title. Now, I do have a sample passage for us to go through so I can show you what that's like. Here is a passage here, the seahorse. So with this unravel step, with the first step, we're going to underline this title. You can use any color to underline, but I'm just going to underline it here with the green. So the reason why we underline the title is because it brings our attention to it. So now we go to the next step of unravel, which is now predict the passage. So we saw that the title was the seahorse. So now you make a prediction. What do you think that this is going to be about? So you might say, okay, maybe this is about the life of a seahorse or interesting facts about seahorses. So now you have set up the expectation for your reading, which is why you make a prediction of the text. So we can go ahead and cross out this first step, which is underline the title. We can cross out now predict the passage. So we want to run through and number the paragraphs. So get your pen. It's important that we show each step of unravel. So we're going to number the paragraphs. I have 1. I have 2. Let me make sure that 1 is there. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. So going through, I just show the 3 paragraphs. Oh, looks like I have 2 number 1s. You can always erase if you make a mistake. No worries. So I'm going to go back and put that number 1 back in there. There we go. So I have my 3 paragraphs numbered. So let me go back through and let's cross that step off of unravel. We have numbered the paragraphs. Are you reading the questions? So you don't go in and start reading right away. With the unravel method, you go straight to the questions now. Look, I have 3 questions. We're going to read through the questions. Number 1, why does the author say that seahorses are interesting animals? So I know that I'm going to look for something about interesting animals. So seahorses being interesting animals, okay? Number 2, what is the main idea of the second paragraph? So we know here that we're going to look at that second paragraph because it's telling us, and we're going to find the main idea. 3, what is the meaning of the word temperature in the first paragraph? So it's telling us where it's at. I know in the first paragraph, it's going to give me the word, not temperature, but temperate. It's going to give me this word in the first paragraph. So I need to determine the meaning of this word. So let's go and cross that step off. Now the reason we do that, we now know what we're reading. We know that we're going to read a story about some seahorses. We know that there are 3 paragraphs for us to get to. we know that by reading the questions, what we are looking for. So now we have a purpose. By you reading the questions, that gave you a purpose for your reading. Now we're not going to read yet. The next step are the important words circled. So we're going to go right on back to the passage here. Let's scroll up. And we're not going to read yet. We're still not reading. We're going to go through and we're going to skim through the text and circle important words. You can even highlight. I like to highlight because it makes it pop for me. But you want to highlight or circle those important words from the text. So I'm just going to scan through. So watch how I skim through. Let's see. It says unusual looking, resembles a horse. Truly a fish. Something about it being truly a fish. A dorsal fin, a pectoral fin, has gills. Intriguing fish. Endangered, overly hunted. Medicine in Asian countries. Million seahorses. Kept in an aquarium. Natural environment. Not able to survive. So just in that first paragraph, I skimmed through and I just really picked out some things that really jumped out at me that looked really important. I haven't read it yet, but I know that these things looked like they gave me some really important information. So I'm going to go through the second and the third paragraph and do the same thing. Look at those important words or phrases and you want to highlight or circle, underline, whatever it takes for those to, so you can make a marking there to keep track of what jumps out at you. So paragraph 2. Peculiar looks, different in how it produces, male that becomes pregnant, 10 days to 6 weeks, baby seahorses develop, 100 babies. I think it says something about the guys are the ones that have the babies. Survive is by hiding, camouflage as protection. Okay. Third paragraph. 30 different types, range in size, variety of colors, beige and brown, bright orange or purple, diet, krill, zooplankton, tiny animals. So I just scanned through, just skimming through. I picked out that in those important little details there. So in the first paragraph, I know I saw some things about what it looks like. It said something about it being endangered. In the second one, it said, gave me some information, something about the dad's the one that has the babies and how they survive. And then the last one, I know I picked out some things that said something about what they range in color. So just by scanning, I was able to get those things to jump out at me so I know what to look for in these paragraphs. So now let's go back to our unravel steps and let's cross out, are the important words circled? Yep, we highlighted them. Now we get to read. Boop, boop, boop. Venture through and read. I like to think of it like Dora the Explorer taking an adventure, and you're going to go ahead and read the passage. So now you go through and you take the time and you read through the passage. If you can read through it 2 to 3 times, that's even better. So go ahead and take about 5 minutes to do that now. Then after your 5 minutes, this is for example purposes, so I didn't wait the whole 5 minutes. After you've read through it 2 to 3 times, now you could say, all right, I read through that. I'm going to cross off that step. Venture through and read. Now we can go and eliminate those tricky answers. Get those tricky answers out of the way. They put those there to throw you off the scent. So you go through and start eliminating. So, number one, why does the author say that seahorses are interesting animals? A, they eat krill. B, they are related to the dragoon. C, they have interesting looks and the males reproduce. D, excuse me, they are made up of mostly water. So why does the author say that seahorses are interesting animals? We can always go back to the text. Let's go back. Now, remember we looked at those key words. Where did we find where it said something about interesting animals? Look at the paragraph. Was it paragraph 1, paragraph 2, or paragraph 3? Let's see. Paragraph 3 talked about there are 30 different types of seahorses. Paragraph 2, they're known for their peculiar looks, but it is also different in how it reproduces. So it tells you about the male seahorse and how they reproduce. And the first paragraph, it tells you that they're found living in tropical and temperate waters all around the world. And it tells you, okay, the unusual looking fish resembles a horse, which is how it got its name. It has a dorsal fin on the lower part of the lower body and a pectoral fin on its head. It also has gills. This intriguing fish is endangered because it is overly hunted. So with them saying intriguing, they're actually using a synonym for interesting. So even if it doesn't say verbatim, this is an interesting fish. Intriguing means interesting. So the author is saying that it is interesting. So it's saying it is overly hunted and it's used as medicine. Millions of seahorses are used each year for this purpose. The seahorse can also be kept in an aquarium. But outside of the natural environment, most seahorses do not survive. Now, let's go back to our options. It says, does it say anything about they're interesting because they eat krill? We can probably take that out. We'll say that's a trick. Yeah, they eat krill, but that's not what makes them interesting. Did it say they are related to the sea dragoon? What about they have interesting looks and the males reproduce? Or they are made up of mostly water. Let's get rid of one more. We want to get rid of at least 2 trick answers for each question. So let's get rid of one more. Which one would make the most sense to get rid of? Did it mention anything about it being related to the sea dragoon? I didn't see anything about it being related to a sea dragoon. So let's get that one out of the way. We didn't see that. That's a trick. We do know that they call them seahorses because they look like little horses. But we didn't read anything saying that they were related to sea dragoons. So now we have it narrowed down to they have interesting looks and the males reproduce. And D, they are made up of mostly water. Now we're not answering it yet. We're still going through and eliminating those trick answers, eliminating what we know are the wrong answers. Number 2, what is the main idea of the second paragraph? We're going to go straight to that second paragraph. Is it the diet of the seahorse? The enemies of the seahorse? The color of the seahorse? The reproduction of the seahorse? Now, we're not going to answer yet, but we want to get rid of 2 of those answers. They are tricks. Get them out. So, which 2 do we know is not part of that second paragraph? So, we know it talks about its peculiar looks, but it is also different in how it reproduces. The male seahorse is one that becomes pregnant. It takes anywhere from 10 to 6 weeks. 10 days to 6 weeks for the baby seahorses to develop. At least 100 babies are born. One of the best ways a seahorse is able to survive is by hiding. A seahorse uses camouflage. Okay, so that was the second paragraph. It's telling us about the second paragraph. So, did it talk about the diet in the second paragraph? Let's get that out of here. What's another one we should take out? Did it talk about the color of the seahorses in the second paragraph? No, I believe that was in the third paragraph. So let's take that one out. That's a trick. Because we want to look at that second paragraph, not what was in the other paragraphs. So that second one right there. Now let's look at number 3. What is the meaning of the word temperate in the first paragraph? So we're going to go back to that first paragraph. So let's look at the options. A, settled. B, unconcerned. C, bothered. D, moderate. What two do we know is not the answer? What is the meaning of the word temperate in the first paragraph? So going back to the first paragraph, temperate. Let's find, I'm going to change my color here. I'm going to find that word temperate. Where are you? It's telling me it's in the first paragraph. Resembles a horse, which is how it got its name. This sea animal is truly a fish. It has a dorsal fin on the lower body and a pectoral fin on its head. It also has gills. This intriguing fish is endangered because it is overly hunted. The seahorse is used as medicine. Over 20 million seahorses are used each year for this purpose. The seahorse can also be kept in an aquarium under the right conditions, but outside of the natural environment, most seahorses are not able to survive. But look, that very first sentence. The seahorse is found living in tropical and temperate waters. Here we go. Did you guys catch that? Tropical and temperate. So, what can we say temperate is not? If it's saying tropical and temperate water, it's not bothered waters. What else would you say? That is not the answer. If something is temperate, we have to take one more off of the table. So what would you decide to take off the table as far as the word temperate? And if you need to go back, look at the word in context. The seahorse is found living in the tropical and temperate waters all around the world. So then if we were to go by that, then we know that we can take, would you take unconcerned out? So that gives us settled and moderate left over. So now let's go back to our Unravel paper. We've eliminated those incorrect answers. We got those out the way. Now we can actually do that last step, which is answering the actual questions. So number 1, now we can answer. So I'm going to say, why does the author say that seahorses are interesting animals? Going back to the text and reading, I'm going to decide because C. That's my final answer. They have interesting looks and the males reproduce. Because look, they talk about the looks in paragraph 1. They talk about the looks in paragraph 3. And then in paragraph 2, it talks about the males reproducing. And the author said it's an intriguing fish, which means it's an interesting fish. So now I'm going to put the proof of where I found my answers. So I actually found it in paragraphs. So I'm going to put P1, 2, and 3. I found proof in all 3 paragraphs that support my answer. So it's important that you also put where you found your answer. Now we already know that for number 2 and 3, we're going to find our answer in paragraph 2 for number 2, because it's telling you in paragraph 2. So we know we're going to find it in paragraph 2 here. And we know that for this one, we're going to find it in paragraph 1. So in paragraph 2, what is the main idea of the second paragraph? So going back up here, we know that it talked about the male seahorse reproducing. That is that second paragraph. So look, the main idea, this is my final answer, the reproduction of the seahorse. Number 3, what is the meaning of the word temperate? Now, if I were to go back in here, the seahorse is found living in tropical and temperate waters all around the world. Excuse me. So, which one would make the most sense? Settled or moderate? So then you have to decide which one makes the most sense for temperate. Which is the best synonym, settled or moderate? So if something is settled, it's something that is like still. Moderate would be something maybe calm. They're not rough waters. The waters are kind of calm. So I'm going to say the best answer. Now, go by the best answer. You might come across situations where there's more than one possible answer, but the very best choice would be moderate. There we go. Now, that's how you unravel and show all of your work during the unravel process. Now I can go ahead and mark off that last step. I have answered all my questions, and I have a 100%. I have completed the unravel process. Once you start unraveling, everything else is a piece of cake. Go ahead and dig into those texts and unravel.